Hi, my name is Emma Lass, and today I am talking to Matt Wallace as part of my World Mental Health Day 2020 series, which is all about my story. So I'll just hand over to Matt so that he can introduce himself and tell you a little bit about what he does, and then we will start to talk about Matt's story in relation to mental health.
Thanks, Emma. Hi, everyone. My name is Matt, and I run the social enterprise Clarity Walk, which aims to improve mental health and well-being through no-phone nature walk. So simply getting people off their phone for an hour to just walk, talk, chill out, and connect with each other to basically clear their head.
Brilliant. Thank you. So, Matt, please would you start by telling us what your story is in relation to mental health?
Yes, so I've had on and off mental health issues for years and years and years, but I was always able to control it through exercise and just a lot of self-care. But in 2017, I got into a dark depression. And at the time, I was working as a personal trainer and decided to move to a new city, thinking it was going to reignite my passion for what I lost with personal training because I didn't really want to do it anymore. And when I was there, it was really lonely. Like, it wasn't the right decision to do. And at the time, the whole left side of my body started to fail me as well. So my shoulder, my groin, my ankle all stopped working within a month of each other. So if you were to raise your arm, like, you could literally resist me with a fingertip. Like, everything, it was like almost like a stroke type thing. And that really affected me. So I couldn't exercise. What was that?
Was that like, do you think it was some sort of stress reaction?
Yes, like looking back in it, definitely, because I was just working too much there. So I was in Pure Gym working 15 hours on top of the personal training hours I was doing. So the balance, where there was no work-life balance, it was just work. And since I was lonely and I was on my phone way too much, just consuming all this pointless information, as well as comparing myself to other people, the body beautiful, the rich and famous, and just wondering, why the hell am I not like these people? And it was all just bringing me down. And then I just noticed I was shutting down mentally, but also my body was shutting down physically as well. So that the shoulder went first, then it was the groin, then the ankle. So a lot of the stress releases I would have had before, such as exercise, so going and just blasting a good workout, I could no longer do that. I could no longer just punch a punch bag anymore. So all these things that I did have before to help me keep on top of things, they were all just stripped away. So over time, over that year, it's like my mental health just spiraled downwards and downwards and downwards and downwards. And it happened so gradually that I didn't even realize I was depressed at the time. Like, I transitioned in a new person, and that became my norm. And I was basically surviving on autopilot. So I would wake up, brush my teeth, get breakfast, go to work, then come back, watch a movie, go to sleep. And it just, that was what I was surviving on. I wasn't really thinking for myself. It was just out of habits. And
like a feeling of numbness.
Yeah, a feeling of numbness. I wasn't really aware of my own feelings or aware of anything. And I was just doing what I needed to do. And that was it. There was no happiness to get. Everything was just switched off, really. And basically the automated machine was just taking over. But it was when I went on a holiday with friends. So my friends from Inverness, they invited me on a holiday. And it was when I got there, I realized how depressed I actually was, because I was actually away from my phone. I was away from work, and I was away from anything that was going to cause me more injuries. So I wasn't working as a personal trainer on holiday. So I could easily just relax, switch off, have a wee drink, go on the boat to get some sunshine. And I just thought to myself, wow, I'm actually happy here. This is quite nice. Like, it's nice to be surrounded by people like I care about. And I looked back because I was like, geez, I'm actually depressed back home. I'm miserable. Like, I'm not actually wanting to live back there. I'm feeling quite depressed. And oftentimes back then I was like getting quite suicidal thoughts just randomly popping into my head as well. It's just like, what's the point? Why should you continue? But on that holiday, it was just that intervention to kind of make me realize, I need to change. I need to make some changes, because at home you're just not in a good place right now. And as I say, I wasn't aware until I went on a holiday. So I said to my friends, like, guys, I know I've been in personal training for X amount of years. I need to get out of it. It's literally killing me. Like, I've got all these things going on with me, and I need to try and find something else now. I committed to saying, I'm going to get out of personal training within a year. And then I'm going to make all these changes. And when I got home, I looked at everything that was causing me problems. So I was spending way too much time on my phone. So right, I'm going to delete Instagram, delete Facebook, delete everything that I could that was just consuming me. You know, I just got rid of it all and looked at methods to actually reduce my screen time as much as possible. Stop watching TV as much. Stop spending so much time on social media.
Yeah.
Did all of that, and that helped me because there was no longer that comparison with other people. Well, digitally anyway.
Yeah.
Since I couldn't exercise, like because the whole left side of my body was shot,
yeah,
but I could walk. So I thought, right, what can I do? I can walk in nature. So I started walking in green spaces. So Kelgrove Park, Botanic Gardens, Queen's View, a lot of places around Glasgow, and that helped me because I just use nature as therapy to clear my minds. And then one of the main things I realized when I was on holiday is like how alone I was in Glasgow, and I actually needed to be surrounded by people.
Yeah.
So every day I would just make an effort just to connect with anyone and everyone, like even if it's a person I'm passing, even if it's a person in the shop, to say, hey, how are you? How are you doing?
Yeah.
Just to get that social connection back and just meet as much people as I can. And all these things collectively, they all help me to actually get in a healthier headspace to help me improve my mind and mental health. And then once I got home, I got into forestry, did that for a year.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me. I did enjoy it, and it was again out of PT. So I've achieved what I committed out to do.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for me. So I started looking for other stuff. And one of my clients gave me an application for a green space coordinator with one of the councils here.
Yeah.
Getting people active in green spaces around the Highlands. And I thought, I've got my personality. I like walking. I like doing a lot of outdoor stuff. So I applied for it, but I didn't get invited to an interview. But I thought, you know what? I can actually do a better job than they ever could by myself.
Yes.
So I thought about what I could actually put into action. I thought about what helped me. And that was getting off my phone, getting out into nature, and just connecting with people. So I rolled all the stuff that helped me into one and created the UK's first no phone nature walk. Started August 2019, and then just went from there. And since then, we've had over 2,000 attendees. We're referred by GPs, mental health charities, counsellors. We've had 5 people return back to work after being signed off for mental health issues. And we've had a lot of other good stuff just come from that simple idea, my experience, to basically help others. And it's just been phenomenal. And I'm in a much happier place now. But if I didn't have that intervention to actually make me aware of how negative I was living my life, then I might not even be here today, you know. And I think that's a really important thing for people, is just to have that cut in their negative cycle to make them aware, so they can start making changes, because people are just not aware of their own mental health. And I think we just need more prompts in our life and interventions where possible. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, when you talked about it, it kind of crept up on you. And I think with a lot of people, it does. I mean, you know, in terms of kind of the stress levels with myself, it was like, you know, it was so slight increases in stress that actually over time, you know, you don't necessarily, you know, it's not, oh, it started like this and it ended like this. It's so subtle that sometimes those signs are so, you know, they're quite hard to detect. But a key thing really is trying to think about what are the initial signs that you tend to get when you're stressed, and actually how does that kind of manifest itself along a kind of a timeline, because actually sometimes that's a really good measure of actually where am I at right now with how stressed I am. Because if you don't kind of have that self-awareness, it does take something as much as, you know, probably being in a different environment or having that ability to switch off and switch back on again to actually have that realization, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think there's so many people right now that are caught in that cycle, that negative cycle. But the problem with during the pandemic is they can't just escape to somewhere or go on a holiday or go too far away. But one thing they can do is get into nature and just switch off the phone. Which can help just even an hour to reset themselves, to realize, whoa, I'm actually doing all of that wrong for myself. So I should probably stop doing that. Add that in, actually go speak to that person, maybe use that service, and just that moment of clarity to actually really help people at this time.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes when you do feel good and you feel better, it's measuring right, what has made you feel better as well? What are those things that have made you feel better? So if you go for a walk without your phone and it makes you feel better, then do more of it.
Yeah.
So if there are certain things that you do as part of your self-care, or or something that you particularly enjoyed, is think back to when you felt really good and what were you doing, and have you stopped doing that right now? Because often that having that sort of kind of subtle measure of things can help you as well. So you've given us a couple of pieces of advice already, but what advice can you share with anyone who feels like they might need some help right now?
Speak to someone. Speak to anyone. Like, if you don't want to suffer alone, because that's when just the depression or anxiety or any sort of mental health issues manifest themselves in a problematic state. So speak to someone, whether it's a friend, family member, a professional service, whoever's easiest to talk to. Just speak. Like get it out of your head, even if you just need to get it out on paper first. Just get it out of here, get it somewhere else, and that way it'll help you manage it a bit more effectively. Other things is doing any form of exercise. Exercise is therapy, whether it's a walk, whether you like going to the gym, doing a cycle, playing a sport, swimming, whatever you enjoy doing, just do lots and lots and lots of it.
Yeah.
Also, nutrition, that plays a lot into mental health as well. So if you're not eating right, then you tend to be bloated, you might be putting on weight, that knocks your confidence, and that spirals into something else. And then if you're not having as much energy, then that'll kill your motivation for a lot of things that are going to do you a lot of good. So get lots of water, get lots of fruit and veg, just have a healthy, balanced diet that suits you and your needs. And that'll also help to keep you on top of your mental health as well. Other things is just keep mentally stimulated. So you should exposure to negativity, stop spending as much time on social media and your phone, and maybe start reading a book or doing some more self-care. Maybe get a hobby, whatever makes your mind feel good and you feel free, you feel relaxed. Just do lots and lots and lots of that as well. And I would say another thing is keep busy. Keep as busy as you can in a productive way, not in an overwhelming way, but just do stuff that's right for you, and just, again, keep on top of things, because the last thing you want to do if you're feeling like that is do nothing and then just this thought spiral and spiral and spiral and spiral, and to the point that you're just overthinking every little thing in your life, and it just makes you so demotivated to actually do anything to help yourself. So do something.
Great, thank you. It's interesting when you're talking about kind of food as well, because there are certain foods that you can eat that do boost levels within your brain as well. So if you want to kind of know more about that, you can give me a shout on that, because we cover that in some of the training that I do as well. So and interesting really around exercise. Obviously no phone, getting out into nature, and that learning part, trying something new, that's stretching your brain. So I would completely and utterly agree with all of that, Matt. So why do you think days such as World Mental Health Day are important?
It just gives somebody a prompt to look after themselves, to actually just have that break in their negative cycle and think, right, let's actually take a look at mental health. Let's give myself a wee self-check and see if everything's all right. And then if all these things are highlighted, this is what depression is, this is what anxiety is, and people can go, oh, wait, that's me right now. And they can just get that awareness for themselves. And I think every day should be Mental Health Awareness Day. So because people need that right now, and just that little prompt to say, are you okay mentally? Because everybody asks if you're okay physically. So just at getting those mental checks to actually make people look after themselves. And I think that's really important. And that's why I love days like these.
I was just going to bring up a point that you mentioned as well there about the pandemic and connecting and, keeping yourself busy. Because one of the things that kind of I've found is that, something that really helps me is to plan ahead. So always to kind of have things to look forward to, which is actually slightly more difficult, isn't it, at the moment? So you don't It's like planning ahead, meeting friends, or we don't know what those circumstances are. So perhaps thinking about kind of how you can keep that human connection, and how you can think about perhaps when this is all over, what would you like to do as well? Or, what things can you do that you really look forward to, that you can plan in now?
I think that's really important. Just plan all those things. And I think just living day by day, like as much as you can, like just getting out on walks. And if you've got the group walks in your area, they're actually legally allowed to take up to 30 people if you want to be surrounded by a lot of people.
Right.
So that's something positive, because a lot of people are missing quite a lot of connection right now. Obviously you've got connecting digitally. It's not quite the same, but it's still another way of connecting, speaking like this or on the phone. Just making sure people have like contact of some kind every single day, a little check-in, a little conversation, just something to make sure they're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you would like to share today, Matt?
In terms of mental health, I think we covered a lot of the things that I usually do. Probably just some simple tips to get off your phone and stop being consumed in it, which would be turning off your app notifications on your phone, so you're no longer getting pinged, buzzed, and flashed, because you could be doing something really important for your mental health, self-care, and all it takes is one message or one notification to throw you completely off it and just ruin your day. So if you can turn them off and then just answer them when you're ready, that'll be much more convenient. And you can easily just go into the settings of your phone, click app notifications, and then just turn them all off. And it's as easy as that. And then download the app Screen Time as well. That can just make you aware of how much time you're spending on your phone. And I guarantee if you reduce your time on your phone, you will start to feel a lot better, because you'll have more time. You'll be less stressed, less busy feeling, and less exposed to all the negativity and arguments that are going on right now,
Yeah, definitely. Now I've got one final question for you.
Okay, shoot.
So, as I was saying to you before, so often when I'm interviewing people, I put out and say, does anyone want to be interviewed on this topic, for example? And it's really interesting, because there's always generally a connection between mental health, well-being, or mental fitness, or rebooting your life. But often I will get many women coming forward, but not so many men. Why do you think that is?
A lot of guys are quite guarded. Like, they don't want to admit like they have mental health issues or any issues of any kind, because we want to be seen as the provider. We want to seem strong. Like, we want to seem strong in comparison to other guys. Like, obviously, I mate for women and things like that. We always want to seem strong in every aspect of our life, and like, we don't tend to talk to each other about it in any sort of way. Whereas women are quite happy to talk about anything and everything. Like, they'll just even phone up each other for a chat. Like, it could be half an hour, an hour. Guys don't do that. They don't want to do it. They don't see the purpose in it, Whereas if they go to the pub, you watch, like, so let's say football or something, there's a purpose there. You've gone there to watch football. It's not just a chat. You're actually doing something with that. And I think a lot more guys just need to find the purpose of actually connection and realizing that it will have some benefits for them, because right now they just don't. And again, it's that showing signs of weakness. A lot of them don't want to do it and seek the help they need. But for any guys watching, get involved as much as you can with things like this, to share your story. Or if you're needing help, just speak to someone. Go to a GP, speak to one of the mental health charities. So there's Breathing Space in Scotland. There's obviously the Samaritans, people like that. Just speak to someone, whoever you feel comfortable with. But guys just need to realize they don't have to be strong and perfect all the time, and it's okay not to be okay for them. And it's not a weakness. It's, I see it as massive bravery, being able to speak out it and admit that something doesn't feel just quite right, even if you don't know what that is right now, but that it's just not all kind of balancing, or something feels out of sync. It's all right to just say, it just feels a bit odd. And it might be that, you're just having a rubbish day.
But if that kind of has carried on, or there's a feeling in there that something isn't, might just be off kilter or might not be just right, talk to someone now before it gets to that point. Where, like it did with you, Matt, where you were starting to kind of ruminate about and also think about those really negative thoughts about can you carry on. Which is obviously we don't want people to get to that point, and that's a big huge part of why I'm doing things like this, and why people like Matt speak out about these things as well.
And I think that's a good point there about the guys, because suicides, like, it's mainly prevalent in men because they don't seek help, they don't speak to anyone, and it becomes so overwhelming to the point that you just don't want to live. Like myself, you don't speak to anyone, you don't seek help, and then the only option you can see is, right, I may as well take my own life because I don't want to live at this point. And in the Highlands, especially where I'm from, like, there's over 58 suicides per year here, in not a densely populated area. And the majority of them is men. And it's mainly due to isolation.
And a key thing as well is in terms of some of those stats, there's generally always a connection as well to, there is a massive connection to isolation, actually getting out there into nature, getting access to light. We need vitamin D. It's getting out there as well. But also something that worries me is around kind of the deprivation side of things as well, in terms of the stats to kind of back that up, in terms of areas where there potentially is more deprivation, there being higher rates of suicide, which actually at the moment, with what we're going through with COVID and those impact financially, is really kind of just keeping our eyes out and trying to see if something just doesn't seem quite right. Even with people that we know, has something changed? Are they acting differently?
Good point. I think we should really look after the people that have just been made redundant. It's like, just keep an eye on them, just see how their mental health is, because financial, like, can really put a lot of stress on people, like, because they're constantly thinking, can I afford food? Can I afford to all my bills? Can I afford to pay the rent this month? And just a whole set of other things as well that just get on top of them. So I think we need to keep an eye on people that have maybe just lost their job or can't find a job at this time and just struggling financially, because they will be affected.
And those trying to survive in business as well, that's there's lots of people that are under extra pressure trying to survive, aren't they? But what's interesting as well is when we talk about kind of redundancy or pretty much severe change or adjustment, often losing your purpose can have a big impact on someone as well. So when you go back to that conversation about men needing a purpose to have a conversation, that also kind of all connects together, doesn't it, in terms of that?
Oh, purpose is a massive thing. It could be purpose for a relationship, could be purpose in your job, purpose to just doing anything at all, like just to motivate people and keep them going. But what you were saying there about purpose for work and things, if you remove that away, they've got suddenly 10 hours free in their day that they never used to have.
Absolutely. And I remember, because we had a chat, didn't we, a few weeks ago, Matt, and we were talking about having a really good discussion about how kind of men and women, women talk face to face, talk about all sorts, talk about rubbish, everything and anything and everything, but generally, have a good old vent when we need to. But often, men need a purpose to have that conversation. So we often talk, women talk face to face, men often talk side by side because they're doing something. They're watching the football at the pub, or they're watching the rugby, or, they're playing golf or whatever. So it's just something to keep an eye on as well, that sometimes with men, we may need to ask a few more questions to delve a bit deeper.
I think that's a good point about actually how many questions you should ask, because just asking, are you okay? Most people say, yeah, I'm fine. And then, are you really okay? Like, what's going on right now?
Yeah.
It's a few other prompts just to get them like, wait, I'm actually not okay.
Yeah.
Because automatically people just say they're fine all the time.
Yeah, I find as well on some of the training that I do, I'll say, right, okay, out of 10, how would you rate how you are right now?
That's a good way.
And sometimes they'll it gives you a really good indication, and then say, right, okay, so you've just scored yourself a 7, for example, or why have you scored yourself a 7? Or why have you scored yourself a 4? So yeah, so like a kind of mood gauge type, barometer, really.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it provides that data. You need to just ask a further question. Why? And then you get to the truth eventually.
You do. Sometimes you have to try quite hard, don't you? Because some people they're not ready, and you might just need to kind of leave it a few days and then go back again and ask again. But just asking those questions will show that you are, and you do want to listen.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Matt. I have absolutely loved interviewing you, and I hope that's been helpful to anyone out there. And I will be back shortly with my next interview of the day. Perfect. So ever so much, Matt.
Thanks, Rob.